Greetings, 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 greetings. I am King Clifford Jefferson, a son of Godfrey, the fifth Caliban Jew, the son of Folk, the ruler of Jerusalem. I'm the reincarnation of King Edgar the Peaceful, which we know here at the Third Tipping Church of England as Jesus Christ, or the Vicar of Christ, or Melchizedek, the King of Righteousness. It is December 14th, 2024, which is equivalent to the birth year 2974. I greet the name of my Queen, Sister Galveston from the House of Galveston. I greet the name of Archbishop Belmont from the House of Belmont. I greet the name of all the heirs, successors, predecessors. I greet the name of all those who are trying to get an understanding of what it is that we are called to do. This is a beautiful lesson I prepared for you today, and this lesson is called the Wren, the Serpent, the Snake, the Double Helix, all represent the dragon, okay, or the flying serpent. Once again, the Wren, the Serpent, the Snake, the Double Helix, all make reference to what we call the dragon, okay? We're going to talk about that today and see what this has to do with us, our makeup, our customs, our traditions that were passed down through time immemorial. Okay, so if there's any question, please post them in the chat, as well as like, share, subscribe, as well as hit the like button. For all those who like to donate, please do so. In the message prescribed on the actual platform, as well as you can send your donations to $ Clifford Jefferson L. So without further ado, let's get started with this marvelous lecture. Before we get started, we just want to take a look at ourselves real quick before we go into this lesson. Greetings, Brother McGarrett from the House of McGarrett. Glad you were able to join us today. The importance of looking at our composition is as a result of understanding ourselves before we became physical beings. Okay? Tracing ourselves back through time. I always say time never was when man was not. The life of time began, the time will come when we will be no more. Okay, so we got to look at ourselves not from what we perceive ourselves through our physical makeup, how we see ourselves through the process of transduction. All right, being able to through our five senses make our assessments about ourselves as well as our environment, which is the wrong way to make the assessment. Okay, so with the eyes of the soul, you are to view this lesson, and not with the eyes of the flesh. All right, so this is why. Thank you, Brother McGarrett from the House of McGarrett. So when we view this lesson, the object of this lesson is not to see yourself as physical, okay? Because we know physical is a result of a bunch of chemical reactions that took place within you, okay? Very, very important for you to understand that. So with that, we're going to our composition, all right, which we call elements, all right? We are composed of something, what's that saying? We are composed of things made of more substance than fleshly eyes can see, okay? So our object is to see ourselves from our original position, okay? Our original position before we manifested here on this physical plane, i.e. this three-dimensional world, all right? And all this involves the wren, the serpent, the snake, the double helix, all right, which is what we refer to in the Anglo-Saxon history as the Ren, okay? The fight against the lower self, i.e. the devil. Composition of the human body, which is an object. What is a noun? You're never going to hear this broken down to you like anywhere else. All right? From this lesson, you will become a scholar. All right? In grammar, a noun is a word that represents a concrete or abstract thing, such as living creatures, places, actions, qualities, states of existence, and ideas. A noun may serve as an object or subject within a phrase, clause, or a sentence. All right? Everybody needs to write that down. And grammar, a noun is a word that represents a concrete or abstract thing, such as a living creature, place, action, qualities, state of existence, and ideas. A noun may serve as an object or a subject within a phrase, clause, or sentence. So we know a noun is a person, place, or idea. Right, so a person, place, or a thing, which can be an idea. Okay, very important. A noun is a person, place, and thing, a thing. So right now, we're dealing with uh, the concept of person, place, or thing. Before the person can exist, the place had to exist. Okay, and that place was the thing. So before humans can exist, the place had to be there, which was called a thing. Before it became what they call inhabitable world, it came from a stage of what we call evolution that was not by chance, okay? It was predetermined, all right? We must understand that. In grammar, a noun is a word that represents a concrete, i.e., or an abstract thing. We know that concrete things come from abstract things, all right, such as living creatures, places, actions, qualities, states of existence, and ideas. Okay, so we understand without the abstract, there would be no concrete. Make sense? All right. Universe. Universe. Universe is all space and time and their content. That means matter. It comprises of all existence and fundamental interactions, physical processes, physical constants, and therefore all forms of matter and energy, and the structure they form from subatomic particles to entire galactic filaments. These are chemical reactions with chemical substance, which we call matter. Since the earliest 20th century, the field of cosmology established that space and time, okay, which we call our universe, all right, which is what we call our three-dimensional world, all right, established that space-time emerges together at the Big Bang, okay, with when the sun exploded, not our sun, but when our star exploded, as a result of what we call our gravitational collapse, okay, gravitational collapse of the sun, it was due what we call accretion, okay, accretion. All right. Cosmology established that space and time emerged together at the Big Bang 13.787 billion years ago, and that the universe has been expanding since then. That's called accretion, as I just stated. The portion of the universe that we can see is approximately 93 billion light years in diameter at present, but the total size of the universe is yet not known. All right, basic understanding about the universe. Our universe is composed of the main content of ordinary baryonic matter, which is 4.9%, dark matter, 26.8%, and dark energy, 68.3%. Okay? Once again, the content of the universe is composed of ordinary matter or baryonic matter, which is nothing more than what we call mass, 4.9%, dark matter, 26.8%, and dark energy, 68.3%. Okay? Very important for you to understand that. Now we're talking about space time. In physics, space-time, also called space-time continuum, is a mathematical model that fuses the three dimension of space and the one dimension of time into a single fourth dimensional continuum, i.e., fourth dimension. Space-time diagrams are useful in visualizing and understanding relativistic effects, such as how different observers perceive where and when events occur. This is called a proposition through what we call mathematics. Okay? Very, very important. And physics, space-time, also called space-time continuum, is a mathematical model that fuses the three dimension of space and the one dimension of time, which means past, present, which we are now, and to the future, i.e., fourth dimensional continuum. Space-time diagrams are useful in visualizing and understanding relativistic effects such as how different observers perceive where and when events occur. When we perceive these events of where, how, and when they occurred, we don't see them from the physical, outside five senses, taste, touch, smell, sight. We see them from thought, okay? Through thought, through what we call memory, okay? Engrams, all right? This is understand yourselves, all right? You have to know thyself. The more scientific America is very familiar with that term. Know thyself. Hold that thought. Know thyself. All right? Very important. All right? So we understand the universe, all right, involves everything that is composed in the universe and all content. And we broke down the content, baryonic matter, dark energy, and dark matter. Okay? We understand that. All right? No need to go no further. And this all concerns persons, places, and things, which we call nouns. All right? So we understand that for places, for persons, places, and things to exist, it all needs a state of evolution, a start. Okay? It needs a start, a beginning. All right? And we were always there at the beginning. But what state were we when we were uh, 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 seeing the manifestation of what we call space time in this so called universe? Okay? Not just in this universe, but this solar system. Okay? What was our state? Okay? When and where we were visualizing when these events occurred. Okay? Because it takes memory. It says what? In physics, space-time, also called space-time continuum, is a mathematical model that fuses three dimensions of space, which is what we're in, from one dimension to two dimensions to three dimensions, onto the fourth dimension with the same time continuum. Okay? The same time continuum. What is time? Time is the continuous progression. Time is the continuous progression of our changing existence that occurs in a apparent irreversible succession from the past to the present and into the future. We all must understand that we must remember our past, okay? When we were created, all right? Because if you don't remember who created you, then he will not remember you, or it will not remember you, or they will not remember you, however you want to perceive it. Time is the continuous progression of our changing existence that occurs in apparently irreversible succession from the past to the present and into the future. Okay? We must understand that. Time never was when we were not. If the lifetime began, the time will come when we will be no more. So we must understand who and what we are. This takes a mathematical model. Okay? A mathematical model. A mathematical model is an abstract, not concrete, description of a concrete system using mathematical concepts and language. This is what we call a proposition. Okay? Ways to prove our theory is correct. All right? This is what we do here at the Third Tip English Church of England. All right? This is what our forefathers know. All right? In order to do that, you must understand yourself. And to understand yourself, you must understand your composition. So let's do that. So mathematical model is based upon mathematical objects. Okay, a mathematical model is based upon mathematical objects. Okay, so just look at what we see examples of mathematical objects. Okay, let's see. Based upon how we existed prior to the creation of the universe and the solar system and the planets that we exist on and everything else that exists in the planet as a result of what we call evolution. Okay? Evolution. A mathematical object is an abstract concept, not concrete, arising in mathematics. Typically, a mathematical object can be a value that can be assigned to a symbol and therefore can be evolved in what they call formulas. Commonly encountered mathematical objects include numbers, expressions, shapes, functions, and sets. Mathematical objects can be very complex. For example, theorems, proofs, and even theories are considered as mathematical objects and proofs of theory. Okay? Very, very, very important to understand that because if it's an abstract concept, which is known as a mathematical object, and we are objects, all right, we are substance of beings made of substance, okay? Chemical. When we go into the origin of our makeup, composition of our makeup, we are nothing more than a chemical substance, okay? All right? That existed prior to our manifestation and what we call full mass, okay? We must comprehend this. What is the abstract concept? A concept is an abstract idea that serves as a foundation for more concrete principles, thoughts, and beliefs. Okay, that's called cognizance, consciousness. Concept plays an important role in all aspects of cognition. Okay, mental faculties, my brothers and sisters, mental faculty. All right, let's move a little further. From left to right, top to bottom, a tesseract or fourth dimensional hypercube, the graph of a binary function, a trefoil knot, a kind of mathematical knot, and a common hierarchy are of sets of numbers. These are all expressions of what we call mathematical objects. Okay? Mathematical objects. They're all forms of mathematical objects. In philosophy of mathematics, the concept of mathematical objects touches on topics of existence, identity, and the nature of reality. In metaphysics, objects are often considered entities that possess properties and can stand in various relations to one another. Philosophers debate whether mathematical objects have an independent existence outside of the human thought, realism, or if their existence is dependent on mental construct or languages, idealism and nominalism. Objects can range from the concrete, such as physical objects, usually studied in applied mathematics, to the abstract, studied in pure mathematics. What constitutes an object is foundational to many areas of philosophy, from ontology, the study of being, to epistemology, the study of knowledge. In mathematics, objects are often seen as entities that exist independently of the physical world, raising questions about their ontological status. Ontological status. There are varying schools of thought with often different perspectives on the matter, and many famous mathematical and philosophers each have different opinions on which is more correct. So it's very, very, very important that we understand that mathematical objects are based upon the principles that are dealing with abstract thought to bring understanding to concrete things that exist before you. Okay, that exist as based upon your new perception by your five faculties: taste, touch, smell, sight, and see. Taste, touch, smell, sight, and hearing. Okay, very, very important. So I covered that. That takes me to, let's see, make sure I didn't miss nothing. Okay, mathematical objects. That takes me to what we call the original position. Okay, seeing ourselves from our original positions. Okay, for us to do that, it takes understanding of mathematics. Okay, it takes the understanding of mathematics. Thought I had it up here, but apparently I didn't. Our ancestors knew themselves very well. Original position. The original position, often referred to as a veil of ignorance, is a thought experiment, a cognitive uh, 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 a cognitive or conscious faculty, because thought is cognitive or consciousness. Okay? So the original position, often referred to as a veil of ignorance, is a thought experiment often associated with the work of American philosopher John Rawls. In the original position, one is asked to consider which principles they would select for the basic structure of society, but they must select as if they had no knowledge ahead of time what position they would end up having in that society. This choice is made from behind a veil of ignorance which prevents them from knowing their ethnicity, social status, gender, and crucially, in world formula, their or anyone else's idea or how to lead a good life. Ideally, this would force participants to select principles impartially and rationally. So that means that your memory has been shot. Okay? Everything is based upon the present and future. We can't make it that way. We have to understand that in order for we have our future based upon our present, we must remember our past. Okay? This is what I'm bringing back to you. Based upon your existence before the universe, the solar system, the earth, the world, before organisms even got into an existence, I'm bringing you back to that conscious understanding. Okay? If you can pay attention. A visual depiction of the philosopher John Rawls' hypothetical veil of ignorance. Citizens make choices about their society are asked to make them from the original position of equality, okay? Equal footing. Equal footing. Behind a veil of ignorance, meaning everybody starts from the door on the same footing, okay? Without knowing what gender, race, abilities, tastes, wealth, or position in society they will have. Rights. Rawls claimed that this would cause them to choose fair policies. As noted elsewhere in the article, elsewhere in the article, philosophers and law professors, hear that? Howard Anthony Lloyd argues that such a veil of ignorance is real rather than hypothetical and drives the thoughtful egoist to degrees of altruism. So it's very important that we understand our past to dictate our present, to set a goal or our premises for our future. Okay, without that, we are doomed. So let's review it. Let's look at our true self. Okay, from our original position. Okay, because we know based upon understanding as physical being, we've been in a state of hell. Okay, we've been in a state of hell. So look at our makeup, all right, from our original position, okay, that we forgot, They didn't tell us about this original position. Okay, all right. When we think like gods, we will become gods. Okay, this is what I'm trying to get you to see. All right, based upon mathematics. Okay, let's see. Talked about this many a times. Okay, composition of the human body, inside the human body, not outside the human body. Because when you deal with the outside of the human body, you're talking about the skin. Okay, you're talking about uh the 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 casing. Okay, what's important is what's inside of you. Okay, what's going on inside of you. Okay, this is what you need to understand. There's a memory that you need to understand about what's going inside of you that starts to change it on the inside, and then it transforms to the outside. Okay, all right, to your immortality state. Okay, this is a transition. Okay, not to be confused with the human anatomy or body composition. All right, let's look at it. Body composition may be analyzed in various ways. This can be done in terms of chemical elements present or by molecular structure. We know molecules are based upon um, uh, uh, what we call our atoms. Okay, that's what you do. Molecules are made of atoms. Okay, and atoms control the cells. Okay, and cells need information. Okay, to act. All right. Body composition may be analyzed in various ways. This can be done in terms of chemical elements present by molecular structure: water, protein, fats, lipids, hydroapatites, and bones, carbohydrates such as glycogen and glucose, and DNA. In terms of tissue types and bodies may be analyzed into water, fat, connective tissue, muscles, bones, etc. In terms of cell type, the body contains hundreds of types of different cells, but notably the largest number of cells contained in the human body, though not the largest mass of cells, are not human cells. Did you hear that? Are not human cells, but bacteria residing in the normal human gastrointestinal tract. Okay, so within our makeup, we have cells that are not human. Okay, they are not human. About 99% of the mass of the human body is made up of about 6 elements, not excluding melanin, because melanin is an organic compound as well. Okay? Melanin is an organic compound as well. We talked about that many a time. All right? And that is a result of sunlight. Okay? Sunlight was melanin was produced by sunlight, and it helps to protect against sunlight. Okay? Very, very important. It's like a cloak, it's like a not just a cloaking device, but it acts as what we call what they call when ships are protected, a force field. Okay, very important. About 99% of the mass of the human body, we're talking about baryonic matter. The universe is made of what we call baryonic matter. Matter of fact, let's go to that again so we can just so we don't forget. Universe. Baryonic matter. Literally all matter that may be encountered or experienced in everyday life is baryonic matter, which includes atoms of any sort and provides them with the property of mass. Did you hear that? Non-baryonic matter, as implied by the name, is any sort of matter that is not composed of primary or baryon. This might include neutrinos and free electronic dark matter, supersymmetric particles, axions, and black holes. Did you hear that, brothers and sisters? I'm telling you your state of existence prior to you becoming human. All right? This all goes back to what you call the universe, before the universe was created, you existed, okay, as dark energy, i.e., ether, okay, as dark energy, i.e., ether, okay, very, very, very important. All right, 4.9% ordinary baryonic matter, i.e., mass. Then you got dark matter, okay, and then you got dark energy. All right. I don't have time to break that down on your own time. Please go through that because it's very important. Let's go back to the composition of the human body. The composition of the human body, okay? We're talking about the uh the chemical substance aspect of us. All right. The chemical substances that are going through what we call our chemical uh, change based upon the chemical reaction based upon the chemical interaction. About 99% of the mass of the human body is made up of six elements: oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, calcium, and phosphorus. Only about 0.85% is composed of another five elements: potassium, sulfur, sodium, chloride, and magnesium. All 11 are necessary for life. You hear this, brothers and sisters? All are necessary for life here on this planet. Okay, not necessarily needed for life on another planet or in another galaxy or in another universe. All right, which is yet to be talked about. All right, so let's get to it. Let's talk about it. Where I want to. All right, nuclear DNA. All right, nuclear. We know we say nuclear. We're talking about something associated with the sun. Okay. Nuclear DNA, or NDA, or nuclear deoxyribonucleic acid, is DNA contained within each cell nucleus. Okay? Contained in each cell nucleus of a eukaryotic organism. You got two: prokaryotic cell and a eukaryotic cell. Eukaryotic cell was a result of what we call evolution. Okay? The prokaryotic cell made way for the evolutionary process to start. Okay? Very important. It encodes for the majority of genomes in the eukaryote, with mitochondrial DNA and plasmid DNA coded for the rest. It adheres to the Mendelian inheritance with information coming from two parents, one male and one female, rather than matrilineal through the mother, as in mitochondria DNA. So you got nuclear DNA and you got mitochondria DNA. You hear that, my brothers and sisters? You got mitochondrial DNA and nuclear DNA. Mitochondrial DNA is that which exists in eukaryotic cells. Nuclear DNA, which was in prokaryotic cell, was extraterrestrial, okay, in origin, all right? And it gave life to all other forms of life. We must understand that. Do what we call embryogenesis, do what we call horizontal gene transfer, okay? Horizontal gene transfer. We'll look at those terms in a second. Nuclear DNA is nucleic acid, a polymeric biomolecule of biopolymer found in nucleus of a eukaryotic cell. Its structure is a double helix with two strands wound around each other, a structure first described by Francis Crick and James D. Watson using data collected by Rosalind Franklin. Each strand is a lone polymer chain of repeating nucleotides. Each nucleotide is composed of five carbon sugars or phosphate groups and an organic base. Nucleotides are distinguished by their bases, purines, large bases that include adenine and guanine, and pyrimidines, small bases that include thymines and cytosine. Charles Goff rules state that the adenine always pairs with thymine and guanine always with parts of cytosine. The phosphate groups are held together with phosphodiester bond, and the bases are held together by hydrogen bonds. Okay? Very important. These are structures known as double helixes, okay? Double helixes. And double helixes is the DNA that's inside the woman's mitochondrial DNA that comes from the nuclear DNA that is extraterrestrial in origin, which we'll talk about in a second. Okay? Any questions? Please let me know. Okay? Please let me know. What is the double helix? Most of you are familiar with this image. What did I do with the picture? Is this it? Yes. All right. This is called the cosmic serpent. The cosmic serpent. Everybody look at that picture right quick. The cosmic serpent. All right. Nucleic acid. Okay. This is called the cosmic snake. Okay. Or the double helix. So let's go to the double helix. So we see that nuclear DNA is known as the double helix. Let's see. Right. Once again, nuclear DNA. So nuclear, okay, not mitochondrial DNA, my brothers and sisters, but nuclear DNA. All right. Nuclear DNA, and contained within each cell nucleus of the eukaryotic organism. Okay? So that means there is nuclear genetic material transferred to what we call the eukaryotic cell, which were cells that came along with what we call the process of evolution. Okay? Before humans, before things, before places even came about. Okay, this genetic material was already in manifestation. Okay, all right, and in order for somebody to create human being, let alone places and things, had to be intelligent, had to be conscious. Okay, to do such a thing. Okay, rocks don't create humans, and humans don't create rocks. Okay, very important. All right, something that is not human, because human is confined to what we call time and space, i.e., this solar system, this planet, i.e., this universe. All right, why? Because of his makeup, their makeup, her makeup. Your makeup is what's important. You must understand your stellineous to make the trip back home. Okay, it's all within you, not outside of you, but within you. Okay, all going back to the nuclear DNA, all right, which all links to what we call the God gene waking up, okay? The God gene waking up, all right? Very, very important for you to understand that. Nuclear DNA, all right? Let's go. Ambiogenesis. We already know what nuclear DNA is, right? Nuclear DNA is the information that was bedded in what we call the eukaryotic cell, which is responsible for what we call mitochondria DNA. Okay, we must comprehend that. Embryogenesis is the natural process. One like that. Abiogenesis is the natural process, okay, by which life arises from non-living matter, okay, such as simple organic compounds. We understand that the human body is nothing but a composition of organic elements, okay? The human body is nothing but a composition of organic elements, okay? All right, including melanin, okay? Everything else on the planet has melanin, okay? Abiogenesis is a natural process by which life arises from non-living matter, such as simple organic compounds. The prevailing scientific hypothesis is that the transition from non-living entities on Earth was not a single event, but a process of increasing complexities involving formations of habitable planets. Okay? The prebiotic synthesis of organic molecules, molecular self-replication, self-assembly, autocatalysis, and the emergence of cell membranes. The transition from non-life to life has never been observed experimentally, but many proposals have been made for different stages of the proposal. Okay? So we understand in order for when the habitable world was created, it had to go through what we call a process, okay, of evolution. All right. And when we talk about evolution, we're talking from the universe to all universes to specific universes to galaxies to solar systems to planets and to all that which is inside the planet. All right. All of this was not by chance. Okay. We must understand that. And we're trying to find ourselves in the wake of all this creation. Are we the creator or a part of the creation? Okay? We must understand that. And I'm letting you know that we are the creators because something added unto us unlike thou what thou knoweth. Okay? We must comprehend that because there's a difference between us and that person that was created by way of person, place, and thing. When we go to the Genesis story, everything was created, and humans was the last thing that was created. Okay? We know a noun is a person, place, or a thing. So that means that the creator, okay, of all living things, all right, the creator of all things that have life, as well as all things that don't have life, okay, i.e., breathing oxygen, that which sustains the life force. Okay, so we have a creator. Okay, forming things and giving names to them, i.e., person, places, and things. And we see in the creation story, based upon Luca, the last universal common ancestors, that human beings are the last thing created. Okay, all right. The creators who created everything thought to create the human being last. So that means that the human being who was created last was not in the image of the creator. Okay? We must understand that. And if that is the case, then you must understand yourself from your original position before things came to be. All right? Before things came to be. Because it's all a part of what you'll call your memory, your chemistry, your makeup. It's based upon what we call engrams. Okay? We're going to go through it in a second. So we understand abiogenesis is a catalyst for life forms of non-living things to becoming living things based upon the organic compounds, i.e., their molecular structure, which we know are composed of what we call atoms. Okay, and we know that we are organic uh, 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 beings. Okay, made up of what we call organic compounds. We just went through that. Okay, all right, but that's not our true essence. All right, our true essence is ether. Okay, because ether permeates space for things to come into being. Okay, all right. So in order to create that human being, in order to create that place, in order to create that thing, there must be space to create it. Okay, there must be space to put something there to create. Whether it's going to evolve to be what it is, there must be space to be there to do that. Our ancestors were there to put that space there. We were before your what? Time and space. We are still before your time and space. We only take up space and time as a result of this mass or this body that we're in, based upon our composition, which is nothing more than what? Organic compounds. All right, going through a chemical change based upon the chemical reaction, which is based upon the substance that we are made of. Okay, we must comprehend that. Let's see. So you see, habitable world, prebiotic synthesis, polymer vesicles, protocells, on into what we call Luca, last universal common ancestor. That goes into what we call bacteria, arcadia, okay? Which is prokaryotic cell, eukaryotic cell. We know the eukaryotic cell contains the nuclear DNA that allows for mitochondrial DNA to come into being, and that's for all life forms on the planet, my brothers and sisters, okay? All things on the planet have mitochondrial DNA. Okay, we're talking about that which was here before mitochondrial DNA, and that's nuclear DNA. All right, that which comes from the sun. Okay, Ra, Amin Ra. Okay, let's look at it, brothers and sisters. So prebiotic synthesis. What is prebiotic synthesis? Let's look at that word real quick. I thought I saved it. Let me go back some. Let's go to nucleic acid double helix. Let's go there. In molecular biology, the term double helix refers to the structure formed by double-stranded molecules of nucleic acids, such as what we call DNA. And we know DNA, mitochondrial DNA, has within it nuclear DNA. The double helical structure of nucleic acid complex arises from consequences of the secondary structure. All right. So we have nucleic acid or double helix, okay, which we know rises from what we call nuclear DNA. Okay. Nuclear DNA. Or the serpent. Okay. Or the serpent. Or the snake. Or the dragon. Or the flying serpent. Whatever you want to call it. All right. It is one and the same. Okay. It is one and the same. So we know embryogenesis, all right, from which is the process of what we call evolution, starts from prebiotic synthesis, all right, to what we call polymer vesicles. Let's look what a polymer and then let's look what a vesicle is. Very important. A polymer is a substance or material that consists of very large molecules or micromolecules that are constituted by many repeating subunits derived from one or more species of monomers. Okay? Once again, polymers are molecules or micromolecules, and we know molecules are composed of what? Atoms. Okay? Very important. So, what are vesicles? Because it says polymer vesicles are the processes and what we call embryogenesis, okay, which is a process of what we call evolution. So, what are vesicles in biology? We shouldn't just look over these words. We should define these words. In cell biology, a vesicle is a structure within the outside of a cell, consisting of liquid or cytoplasm enclosed by lipid bilayers. Vesicles form naturally during the process of secretion, uptake, secretion, which is known as exotosis, and uptake, which is endocytosis, and the transport of material within the plasma membrane. Very, very, very important when we're talking about embryogenesis and the evolution of life, or what we call from non-living things to living things, all right? Because they talk about two secretions, all right, and which are composed of what we call molecules or atoms, okay? And it said the secretion is the exocytosis and the uptake is the endocytosis. So let's define these words because they're very important in what's going on within us, i.e., involving the chemical mystery, okay? The chemical mystery, all right, that we must remember. All right, we must remember the chemical mystery that's going on within us. Didn't I say these? Yes, let's look them up right now. Isocytosis. Okay, let's look at it. Basic understanding. Exocytosis is a form of active transport and bulk transport in which a cell transport what? Molecules, neurotransmitters, and proteins out of the cell. Okay, exocytosis as an active transport mechanism. Exocytosis requires the use of energy to transport material. This is called potential energy. Okay, all right, kinetic energy. All right, we must use these terms in their proper understanding as reference to ourselves. So, exocytosis is a form of active transport. We know transport means to move from one spot to another, and bulk transport meaning a bulk of what? Information in which a cell transport molecules, because molecules are composed of atoms that could carry energy, all right, which is composed of energy, all right, and it helps in the process of what we call embryogenesis. So we see exocytosis, all right, and we see that's the transport of molecules or bulk molecules, all right. So what is endocytosis? Endocytosis is a cellular process in which substances are brought into the cell. The material to be internally is surrounded by an area of a cell membrane, which then buds off inside the cell to form a vesicle containing the ingested material. Endocytosis includes pinocytosis, cell drinking, and phagocytosis, cell eating. It is a form of active transport. Okay? All right, nourishment. Okay, nourishment on the cellular level, my brothers and sisters. Endocytosis and exocytosis is all a result of what we call transporting information on a cellular level, okay, on a molecular level, all right, through what we call chemical change, chemical reaction with chemical substances or chemical material, which is you. You are the object. You are the subject, okay? Substance, okay? You are the matter, okay? We must comprehend. Physical biology and chemistry, we already defined that, all right? So, what is organic chemistry? Second. Yeah, prebiotic synthesis. I know I was looking for that word. Abiogenesis, all right? Abiogenesis, probiotic synthesis, polymer vesicles, protocells onto the evolution process, okay? We see the process here. So we define polymer and vesicles, and we understand that polymers are macromolecules and molecules that are able to be transferred through the vesicle, okay? Through the vesicle, and it's known as what we call neurotransmitters, okay? Through exocytosis, and what was the other term they used? You guys remember it. But once again, it just said that ambiogenesis, prebiotic synthesis, and polymer vesicles. So let's define prebiotic synthesis. What is this? What is that defined as? It's called cyanosulfidic cyanosulfidic prebiotic synthesis. Okay, that's the term they give you. Cyanosulfidic prebiotic synthesis, all a part of what we call the embryogenesis process, which is a process of the start of evolution. Okay, cyanosulfidic prebiotic synthesis is a proposed mechanism for the origin of the key chemical building blocks of life. Okay, the chemical building blocks of life is called the prebiotic synthesis. Okay, the prebiotic synthesis. We must comprehend that. That all takes place in the manifestation of what we call evolution. Okay, evolution. All right, and that's through what we call the horizontal gene transfer. All right, which we discuss now in a second. We discuss that in a second. Let's see. So endisosis, once again, so you guys can write that down, is a cellular process in which substances are brought into the cell. The material by internalized is surrounded by an area of cell membrane, which then buds off into the cell to form a vesicle containing the ingested material. Okay, so this is cell drinking or cell eating. All right, and we know this denotes to what we call what was the other word? Let's see, vesicles. Endocytosis. Let's define endocytosis as we define exocytosis. Endocytosis. Endocytosis is a cellular process in which substances are brought into the cell. The material to be internally internalized is surrounded by an area of cell membrane. Oh, we just read that one. Let's go to endocytosis then, since we just read that one. Exocytosis. Exocytosis is a form of active transport and bulk transport in which a cell transport molecules, neurotransmitters, and protein. Once again, neurotransmitters and protein. This is very, very, very important because this is all related to what we call the God gene. Okay? The God gene, my brothers and sisters. All right? Barrier and vesicles are all part of what we call probiotic what was it? Probiotic probiotic synthesis results in what we call polymer vesicles, which helps to transfer information within the cell, i.e., the molecular cells, which is composed of atoms. Okay, so all that information is transferred by way of what we call endocytosis and exocytosis. Okay, which is transferring information by way of what we call neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters. This all relates to what we call the God gene. Okay, the God gene, and that's based upon one behaviors. God gene. The God gene hypothesis proposed that human spirituality is influenced by hereditary and that a specific gene called vesicular monoamine transporters, i.e., what we call polymer vesicles, do exocytosis and endocytosis. That's what they're talking about from a biological understanding, not from some spooky understanding, from a biological understanding about your makeup, what's going on the molecular level, based upon the chemical reaction that takes place if you are understand engrams, because engrams are memory, okay? Memory, okay? Spiritual memories of yourself, okay? The God gene hypothesis proposes that human spirituality is influenced by hereditary and that specific genes called vesicular monoamine transporters predisposes humans towards spiritual or mystic experiences. Did you hear that, y'all? Did you hear that? The God gene hypothesis is based upon a combination of behavioral genetics. Okay, behavioral genetics. Behavioral genetics, also referred to as behavioral genetics, is a field of scientific research that uses genetic methods to investigate the nature and origin of individual differences in behavior. This is why we act like we do. This is why we study like we do. This is why we teach like we do, because it shows a genetic pattern based upon our behavior, the behavior of our ancestors, okay? Because the behavior of our ancestors and behavior of us is based upon what, brothers and sisters? The God gene, okay? It's based upon the God gene is resulting in what we call organic chemistry. What is organic chemistry? Let's define that. Organic chemistry is a subdiscipline within chemistry involving the scientific study of structure, properties, and reactions of organic compounds. Remember, the body is made up of what? Organic compounds and organic material, i.e., matter in its various forms that contain carbon atoms. Did you hear that, my brothers and sisters? Study of structure determines their structural formula. Study of properties include physical and chemical properties and evaluation of chemical reactivity to understand their behavior. All right, the study of organic reaction includes the chemical synthesis, i.e., probiotic synthesis. All right, the chemical synthesis of natural products, drugs, and polymer vesicles, and study of individual organic molecules, i.e., the organic compounds that we're made of. We know molecules are made of what we call atoms in a laboratory, be it theoretical and silicon. Silicon. You hear that? Silicon. Silicon is resulted from resulted in what we call the chemical reaction that resulted in creation of our universe. How I know it? Just look at it. All right, this is what computer chips are made of, my brothers and sisters. Silicon computer chips are made of silicon, which acts as an integrated um, transmitter. Okay, you must understand. So I know what I'm talking about. silicon. We talking about universe, right? Check it out. Silicon is the eighth most common element in the universe by mass, but very rarely occurs as a pure element in the Earth's crust. It is widely distributed throughout space in cosmic dust. You hear that? Cosmic dust, planetoids, and planets as various forms of silicon dioxide, silica or silicates. More than 90% of the Earth's crust is composed of silicon material. You ever heard of silicon being versus carbon-based beings? Once again, silicon-based being versus carbon-based beings. You better check it out. Look it up on YouTube. More than 90% of Earth's crust is composed of silicate material, making silicon the second most abundant element in the Earth's crust, about 28% by mass after oxygen. Okay? After oxygen. All right, right here. The latest 20th century to early 21st century has been described as the silicon age, as known as the digital age or information age, because of the large impact that elemental silicon has on the modern world economy. A small portion of very highly purified elemental silicon used in semiconductor electronic essential semiconductors are neural or transmitters. Okay, y'all better look at what's going on. I did a lesson on that. The small portion of very highly purified elemental silicon used in semiconductor electronics essential to the transistors and integrated circuits chips used in most modern technology, such as smartphones and other computers. Okay, we are hooked to a computer. It's called digital uploading, which we call mental uploading to our etheric self. Okay, we must comprehend what's going on. Back to the lesson. Okay, back to the lesson. So organic chemistry. We just define organic chemistry, my brothers and sisters. But what does that have to do with self? Okay, organic chemistry is a sub-disciple within chemistry involving scientific study of structures, properties, and reactions of organic compounds and organic material, i.e., matter in the various forms of contain carbon atoms. Let's go to what we call engrams. Engrams. Engrams is a unit of cognitive information imprinted in the physical substance, theorized to be the means by which memories are stored, as biophysical and biochemical changes in the brain or biological tissue in response of external stimuli. External versus internal stimuli. Internal stimuli deals with the faculties that are ran by what we call on the molecular level, making use of the information or deciphering information that's external that you're externally receiving, not externally, because external stimuli based upon your five senses. Okay, very important that you comprehend that. I don't want you to use those faculties. I want to use the faculties of memories, because memory is a cognitive, conscious faculty, which is not external, it's eternal, my brothers and sisters. It's your mind, not your brain. Okay? Engrams of unit of cognitive information, conscious information, imprinted. You hear that? Imprinted and the physical substance. So there's something added unto you, unlike what you now know as your physical substance uh, um, is the matter that we're made of, and it's chemical. It's going through a chemical change based upon the imprinted cognitive information that you need to understand based upon transduction. Okay, transduction is derived by means by which the memories are stored. What are memories? Okay, memories are determined by your mind, not your brain. Let's do what they call your neurosomatic system, okay? Senses, okay? Your nervous system, and are stored as biophysical, all right? Biophysical is an interdisciplinary scientific science that applies approaches and methods traditionally used in physics to study biological phenomena. Biophysics covers all scales of biological organization, from molecular to organism and populations. You hear that? Biochemical. All right, we just defined that biochemical, organic chemistry. We just defined that. Let's define biochemistry real quick. This is all understanding embryogenesis before we became living beings, i.e., matter. Biochemistry or biological chemistry is a study of chemical processes within the related to living organism, i.e., this is a part of embryogenesis. A subdiscipline of both chemistry and biology. Biochemistry may be divided in three fields: structural biology, enzymology, and metabolism. Over the last decades of the 20th century, biochemistry has become successful at explaining the living process through three disciplines. Almost all areas of life sciences are being uncovered and developed through biochemical methodology and research. See, nothing spooky about it, all right? Nothing spooky about it whatsoever. This is how you remember, brothers and sisters. This is how you remember. We understand that three-dimensional subject to what we call time and space, okay? Which is what the universe is subject to, what we call time and space. We exist outside of time and space because we know that uh, um, ether cannot be subject to time and space because it created the space for time and space to exist, okay? We must understand that. Let's move on with the lesson. All right, now we can move on. So we know embryogenesis is based upon from non-living things to living things through the process of what we call evolution. Okay, evolution. This goes into what we call the tree of life. Okay, the tree of life. Let's talk about that for a second. This all has to do with the wren, the serpent, the snake, the dragon. Has to deal with that. All right. Also has to do with Adam and Eve. Okay, the serpent in the tree. This is what this talking about. Okay, the tree of biology. Okay, the forbidden knowledge. The tree of life or universal tree of life is a metaphorical conceptual model and research tool used to explore the evolution of life and describe the relationship between organisms, i.e., organic compounds, both living and extinct, and describe its famous passages in Charles Darwin as the origin of species, i.e., persons, places, and things. And persons were the last thing created in that place, along with the other things. Okay? We must comprehend that. All right? We must comprehend that. Right here. Tree of life and biology. Okay? Tree of life from biology, not from some spookism that everybody likes to stay on, and not really come at it from an understanding where we can all understand it based upon our makeup. Okay? It says the prokaryotic, the two-domain bacteria in Arcadia in certain animals such as beluloids, rotifers, freely pass genetic information between unrelated organisms by horizontal gene transfer. Okay? Recombination, gene loses, duplication, and gene creation are a few of the processes by which gene can be transferred within a between bacterial and archaeal species, causing variation that is not due to vertical transfer, which goes into what we call how genetic material is passed from mother to father through vertical transfer. All right, so we understand that um, embryogenesis starts with passing genetic material from the prokaryotic cell to the eukaryotic cell, and the eukaryotic cell receives its information through what we call horizontal gene transfer. Let's look at that. Horizontal gene transfer or lateral gene transfer is the movement of genetic material between organisms other than by vertical transmission of DNA from parent to offspring production. So that goes right back into exotosis and what is it called? Nuclear DNA, polymer and vesicles transfer molecular information that's contained in what we call the cells. All right, which is the information it's within the atoms. Okay, through what we call exocytosis and endocytosis. Okay, through what we call neurotransmitters, which results in what we call the guide gene or the BMAT2 gene. Okay, through the process of horizontal gene transfer for all things on the planet, my brothers and sisters, for all things on the planet. Okay? You can't make this stuff up. Okay? You can't make this stuff up. All right? This is all involves what we call understanding cell lineage. Okay? Understanding cell lineage. Okay? Cell lineage denotes the developmental history of a tissue or organ from the fertilized egg. These are called the matrix, okay? Matrix in biology. All right. This is based on the tracking of an organism's cellular ancestry due to the cell division and relocation as time progresses. This starts with the originator cell and finishes with the mature cell that can no longer divide. This is called cell division, my brothers and sisters. This is called cell division. Okay, so we understand that cell lineage denotes the development of history of tissue or organs from the fertilized egg. This creates the matrix that we're subject to, okay? Which there are many matrices that we're subject to, but this is the one in particular that we need to focus on, okay? Let's look at it. Matrix in biology. In biology, matrix or matrix, we know what that means to measure, is a material or tissue in between the eukaryotic organism cell. You know, the eukaryotic organism cell is a material that is embedded inside the cell through what we call nuclear DNA. And nuclear DNA is information that originated from the prokaryotic cell through what we call horizontal gene transfer. Okay? All right. And the evolutionary process through what we call probiotic synthesis do what we call polymer vesicles by way of what we call exocytosis and endocytosis helps to transfer the information or the genetic material that allows the genetic symbiosis process to take place. Okay? We must understand this. In biology, matrix is the material or tissue and between the eukaryotic organism cell. When we say tissue, we're not talking about the tissue of the actual cell, i.e., that's within us. I mean, yes, we're talking about the cell that's within us, let alone the cell that we see on top of our skin, which is the result from the cells made of melanin, okay, called melanocytes, okay, melanocytes, all right. All this was a gift from our ancestors that originated from sun, Ra, okay, to help us make the transition on what we call a Ra solar bark, okay, or Ra's or Amun Ra's solar bark or his ship, solar ship. We're going to talk about that in a second, all right? If we can ever break free of these so-called matrices that we are subject to, such as the one we're talking about now, the one that got us subject to what we call um, uh, the eukaryotic cell, because we did not originate from the eukaryotic cell. The eukaryotic cell was the embedded material that came from nuclear DNA, okay? We must comprehend that. What are some other types of matrices that we're subject to? All right, let's look at it. Bone matrix. Bone is a form of connective tissue found in the body composed largely of hardened hydroapatite containing collagen. In larger mammals, you get into silicone. In larger mammals, it arranges in osteome regions. Bone matrix allow minerals, salts such as calcium to be stored and provide protection for internal organs and support for locomotion. Okay? Matrix. Cartilage matrix. Cartilage matrix is another form of connective tissue found in the body, providing a smooth surface for joints and other mechanisms for growth of bones during development. Okay, these are all matrices that we have to break. Mitochondrial DNA matrix. It is the mitochondrion, the matrix containing soluble enzymes that catalyze an oxidation or pyruvate of other small organic molecules. Okay, then you got the nuclear matrix. Nuclear matrix is the cell nucleus of the matrix and the insoluble fragments that remain after extracting the soluble DNA. Okay? So you got all these matrices that you got to break free of. Okay? All right? All this only can be done is by understanding what we call mathematics. Okay? Mathematics. Okay? Let's move forward. All right? So let's see. Let's go here. So in order to break the matrix, which we deal with the eukaryotic cell, and we know the eukaryotic cell is the information that we see from the nucleus cell, which got its authority from the prokaryotic cell, which is extraterrestrial in origin, and it said that it's able to give life to what they said, uh, what they said, superior life. Let's just look at it, intelligent life. All right, because we're going to a change of transition, my brothers and sisters, without you even knowing it. Right? Extraterrestrial life, something outside of this planet, something outside of the solar system, something outside of this universe. Okay, something that's not subject to what we call space and time. Okay, we must understand that extraterrestrial life or alien life, colloquially, is life that originates from another world rather than on Earth. No extraterrestrial life has yet been scientifically conclusively detected. Such life may range from simple forms such as prokaryotes to intelligent beings. You hear that? This is the process of embryogenesis, the process of non-living matter to living matter through the process of probiotic synthesis through what we call the chemical changes that exist within us. But you must remember those changes based upon engrams, which is the memory from the past cellular life to the life you have now, which is still a cellular life on the cellular level, but you need to comprehend that, my brothers and sisters. I don't know how simple to make that. All right. So prokaryotic to intelligent beings, possibly bringing forth civilizations that might be far more or far less advanced than human beings that came through the evolutionary process. Okay. All right. And for you to understand that, you must understand astrobiology, which means the study of the stars. Science of extraterrestrial life is known as astrobiology. That is your key. Not just the stars. You play when the stars originated and you being a part of the stars because you are composed of the same elements. How we know it? Let's look at it, my brothers and sisters. Transduction. All right. Transduction. As you can see the sun there. All right. We know in Egyptian, sun disk, and we know the Uranus represents the eye Ra. Okay. We understand the word dragon means to see. The word dragon and serpent are the same. Okay. Transduction physiology is the translation of arriving stimulus into action potential, i.e., kinetic energy, by sensory receptors, okay? Not neurosensory, but mental sensory, okay? Cognition, consciousness, okay? It begins with stimulus changes the membrane potential of the sensory receptor. A sensory receptor converts the energy into a stimulus into an electrical signal. Receptors are broadly split into two main categories. Exoreceptors, which receive external stimuli, and interoceptors, which receive internal sensory stimuli. So you got two types of stimuli that you receive through the process of what we call transduction: external and internal. So majority of our people receive external stimuli, contrast to internal stimuli, because they don't understand the internal makeup of themselves based upon their makeup. Okay, very very important for you to understand that. This is why our ancestors made the science and made it symbolic. Okay, they made the science symbolic. Let's see the symbolic of it, because signal collection, transduction, processing, and in action. Action is the energy, okay? The kinetic energy, the potential energy, okay? Very, very, very important. Dragon. Dragon. Now we're gonna connect all of this. All right? We're gonna connect all of this information that we just went over. All right, because we know nuclear DNA is symbolic of what we call the cosmic snake. Okay, the cosmic snake, and we know that the cosmic snake is represents nuclear DNA. Okay, which is known as the double helix. Okay, the double helix represents the eukaryotic information, which is what we call mitochondrial DNA, double strand, and the prokaryotic information, which is the information that came prior to you being part of the evolutionary process. Okay, all right. This is the key back to your godlike state. Okay, through that energy. All right, through the awakening of that energy. Okay, you call it Kundalini energy. All right, consciousness. All right, awareness. All right, this is what the Uranus is all about: being able to see. Okay, The word dragon means to see. All right. The dragon is also what we call a serpent or flying serpent, or what we call a flying serpent. Yeah, flying serpent called a wren, which you see here. All right, behind me. Let's get into it. A dragon is a magical, legendary creature that appears in folklore of multiple cultures worldwide. Beliefs about the dragon vary considerably through regions, but dragons in Western cultures since the High Middle Ages have often been depicted as winged, horned, and capable of breathing fire. Dragons in Eastern cultures are usually depicted as winged, four-legged, serpentine creatures with above-average intelligence. Commonalities between dragon traits are often hybridization of reptilian, mammalian, and avian features. Okay? Let's look at the etymology of the word. The word dragon enters the English language in the early 13th century from Old French dragon, which in turn comes from the Latin draco, genitive draconis, meaning huge serpent or dragon. We also have a constellation called the Draco's constellation. Okay. From ancient Greek, drakon, genitive of dracontus, serpent. The Greek and Latin term refer to any great serpent, not necessarily mythological, and the Greek word, I can't pronounce that, is mostly derived from the Greek word verb, can't pronounce that, meaning I see. The areas from which a drakon, this is thought to have referred to something with a deadly glance or unusually bright or sharp eyes, or because a snake eyes appear to be always open. Each eye actually sees through a big transparent scale in his eyelids, which are permanently shut. The Greek word probably derives from the Indo-European based dirk, meaning to see, also meaning to see. So we see the word dragon are associated with two words, serpent and to see. Okay? Serpent and to see. Very important. It could be found in different cultures, but for the sake of the lesson, we're going to take it to the origin of Europe. All right, the English, also Egypt as well. Egypt. In Egypt mythology, Apep or Prophet is a giant serpentine creature who resides in Duat, i.e., the underworld. Brimner Wren papyrus, written about 310 BC, preserves an account of much older Egyptian tradition that the setting of the sun is caused by Ra descending to the Duat to battle Epep. That is called a Kirit or the West, okay, according to the Berber religion, okay, the West. In some accounts, Epep is as long as the height of 8 men with a head made of flint. Thunderstorms and earthquakes were thought to be caused by Apep roar, and solar eclipses were thought to be the result of Apep attacking Ra during the daytime. In some myths, Apep is slain by the god Set. Nephapka is another giant serpent who guards the Duat and aided Ra in his battle against Apep. We also have what we call Waset. Okay? We also have Waset. We'll talk about her in a second. Okay? But they also make reference to Ra battling um, uh, uh, the creature who reside in Dawat, i.e., the underworld. And they make reference to that being in the West. Okay? West Asia, we're not concerned about that. Levant, everybody got their relationship to the dragon or the serpent. Iran, China, Korea, Japan, Vietnam, South Asia, India, Bhutan, Europe, Proto-Indo-European. Everybody got some relationship with the dragon. Ancient Greece, Germanic relationships with the dragon. You can do your own time and look at it, as well as post-classical time during the Middle Ages. Okay, European dragons, Welsh dragons, the Wren, Saint George, the dragon, Margaret the Virgin, and Drake, Dacian Draco. Okay, so we're more concerned about the understanding of the dragon in the Middle Ages, since that's where we take our history from. Okay, all right. If you take it from the history, you got a couple perceptions of the dragon. Uh, from Garfield Mama's dealing with the white dragon and the red dragon. Okay, those stories there are also talking about the story, but we're not going to take our cue from that. We're going to take our cue from the Ren. Okay, the reason why I say that is it's important because this part right here. The oldest recognizable image of a fully modern Western dragon appears in the hand-painted illustration from the medieval manuscript M.S. Harley 3244, which was produced around 1260 A.D. The dragon in the illustration has two sets of wings and its tail is longer than most modern depictions of dragons, but it's clearly displayed many of the same distinctive features. Dragons are generally depicted as living in rivers and having underground layers or caves. They are envisioned as greedy and gluttonous and vicarious appetite. They are often identified with Satan due to the reference to Satan as a dragon in the book of Revelation. Very, very, very important that they made that connection with dragons relative to Satan. All right? All right, because everybody got their depiction of the dragon, but our depiction of the dragon, based upon what you see here, is based upon that which is the Ren. And we know that the serpent and the dragon and the Ren and the double helix are all connected, and the connection between all of them is the information that you have about these so-called symbolic uh, uh, terms used or denoted to the dragon. Okay, but it doesn't denote to who you are and the origin of who you are based upon the symbolic meaning of the dragon and relative to you are. Then you're going to be totally lost. Okay, you're going to be totally lost. All right, so in that aspect, we're going to go to what we call the rim, since they said that the dragon was associated or identified what they call Satan. Okay, rim. The rim. The wren, sometimes spelled wyvern, is a type of mythical dragon with two legs, two wings, often pointed with a pointed tail. The wren is in various forms is important in heraldry, frequently appearing as mascot schools and athlete teams in the present day. I'm not going to read that. Etymology of the word wren. I'm not going to read that. I'm just going to go to history. All right, history of the wren, the dragon. The concept of winged snakes, mythical creatures similar to the wren, is common in cultures around the Mediterranean, with notable examples being the Egyptian goddess Wajet. The oldest creature outright referred to as winged dragon is Helios chariot steeds, which aid Medea. Okay? Very important that we understand that. So the concept of the winged snakes, mythological creatures similar to the wren, is common in cultures around the Mediterranean, with notable examples being the Egyptian goddess Wajet. Okay, so the wren, i.e., the dragon, i.e., flying serpent or flying snake, is symbolic of the goddess Wajet in Egyptian time. Okay, we must make that connection before we go there. Let's look at another example of the flying serpent. Flying serpents. Fiery flying serpents is a creature mentioned in the book of Isaiah and Tanakh. The term translated as fiery serpent or seraph or seraphim appears elsewhere in the book of Isaiah to signify the seraphim, the singular form of which is also called seraph. Okay? And this is called an angelic being. Okay? An angelic being, which we'll look at in 1 second. Ancient Israelite seals often co-opt symbology from neighboring ancient Egypt, and as such, archaeologists have discovered numerous seals which shows the Uraeus cobra with four wings. Thus, coupled with the fact that these cobras diverge from the typical Egyptian iconography, which depicted them with only two wings, have been connected by some of the fiery flying serpents mentioned in Isaiah, or even the more specific seraphim seen elsewhere in the text. So they're associating the Uraeus, the rim, are synonymous with the seraphim or the seraphim. All right, and we know the seraphim or seraph, it's a particular angel. Okay, which we'll look at now. Seraph. Serp or seraphim is a celestial heavenly being originating in ancient Judaism. The term plays a role in subsequent Judaism and Islam. Okay, so seraphim, all those are symbolic with what we call the serpent. Okay, they're all symbolic or associated with what we call the serpent. Origins development. In Hebrew, the word serp, meaning burning, is used 7 times throughout the text of the Hebrew Bible as a noun, usually to note to the word serpent. Twice in the book of Numbers, once in the book of Deuteronomy, and 4 times in the book of Isaiah. The reason why the word for burning was also used to denote serpent is not universally agreed upon. It may be due to certain snake species, fiery colors, or perhaps the burning sensation left by a venomous bite. Regardless, its plural form, seraphim, occurs in both Numbers and Isaiah, but only in Isaiah is used to denote an angelic being. Likewise, these angels are referred to only as the plural seraphim Isaiah, later used for a singular seraph to describe a fiery flying serpent in line with other uses of the term under the book you call the Tanakh. Okay? The Tanakh. So seraph, serpent, snake, all are associated with angels, i.e., seraphim. All right? Very, very important. Let's go back to, let's see, dragon. Okay, here we go. Now they said dragons were associated with Satan. Okay? That's what they said. Dragons were associated with Satan. We're still under the term dragon, but we're talking about this dragon, i.e., this rim, and see if they associate this dragon with Satan with this dragon called the rim. Dragons are prominent in medieval heraldry. Uther Pendragon was famously said to have had two gold dragons crowned with red standing back to back on his royal coat of arms. Originally, heraldic dragons could have any number of legs, but by the late Middle Ages, due to the widespread proliferation of bestiaries, Harada began to distinguish between a dragon, which could only have exactly 4 legs, and a ren, which could only have exactly 2 legs. In myth, rens are associated with viciousness, envy, and pestilence, but in heraldry, they are used as symbols for overthrowing the tyranny of Satan and his demonic forces. So you see the word dragon as associated with the ren was to overthrow Satan demonic forces and now associate themselves with Satan demonic forces. And we know that the flag of Wessex is the flag of the rim. Okay? So that means that they were assisting and keeping the devil at bay. All right? Let's look at the flag of the rim. Flag of Wessex. Wessex. It don't show the flag though. Let's see. Well, as you can see here, the flag of Wessex is actually the ring which we're talking about now. Very important because once again, when we go back to the dragon, okay, the dragon in all cultures have symbolism, okay? And the symbolism is based upon how they use or determine what it's supposed to symbolize. And some symbolize the dragon associated with the devil, okay? All right. A lot of people associate the dragon with the devil. We don't associate the dragon with the devil. We associate the dragon with those who were trying to keep the devil at bay. And as you can see that displayed, that's what the what we call the rim was for. Okay, and that was also symbolic of the wajet. Okay, which is also a serpent with wings. Okay, if we go to the history of the rim, the concept of winged snakes, mythical creatures. This is called empather. 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 If I'm pronouncing it wrong, please forgive me. All right. But the concept of winged snakes, mythical creatures similar to the rim, is common in cultures around Mediterranean, with notable examples being in Egyptian, the goddess Wajet. So look at the goddess Wajet. Okay. Nothing strange, brothers and sisters. Wajet. Wajet, known to the Greek word as U2, among others rendering including Wedjet, Ujet, or Uju, was really the ancient Egyptian local goddess of the city of Dept or Butu in Lower Egypt, which was an important site in prehistoric Egypt. Wajet worship originally started in the pre-dynastic period, but evolved over time from local goddesses to the patron goddess. As you can see, a serpent, all right, with wings, with the sun disk, okay? And we know the snake's head represents Uranus, and we know that the word serpent or the word dragon, and we know all it's denoting to being able to see, okay? Not necessarily having this being able to see physically with your physical eye, but see consciously with your spiritual eye, i.e., what we call your etheric eye, okay? We must comprehend that, or your third eye. All right. So all of them are connected. All of them is symbolic. All right. It also goes into what we call Quetzalcoatl, the flying serpent. We talked about this yesterday. Mexico. Feather serpent. Feather serpent is a prominent supernatural entity or deity found in many Mesoamerican religions. It is still called Quetzalcoatl among the Aztecs, Kukulkan among the Yucatec Maya, and Quamplatas, if I'm not so wrong, Quangamatas and Tohil among the Kichi Maya. Okay, so everybody got names for these feathery serpents, flying serpents, or flying dragons. Okay, so if they got their name for them, we have our name for them as well. Okay, and we call it the ring. All right, and it represents consciousness about our people, about our ancestors, about our makeup. All right, on the physical level and spiritual level, you must understand that in order to make the trip home. Okay, all right, because this is when we come into our closing, dealing with the solar bark. Solar bark was a vessel used by the sun god Ra in ancient Egyptian mythology. During the day, Ra was said to use a vessel called the Manjet, or a boat of a million years. And the vessel he used during the night was known as a Mexicat. All right, very important, right? Because we know these are Berbers. All right, we know that the Berbers, the Olmecs are one of the same people. They had the same culture. According to the Egyptian myths, when Ra became too old and weary to reign on earth, he relinquished and went up to the skies. Ra was said to travel through the sky on a barge, providing light and to the world. Each 12th of his journeys formed one of the 12 Egyptian hours of the day, each overseen by the protective deity. When the sun set and twilight came, he and his vessel passed through the Akat, the horizon, and the west, and traveled to the underworld, i.e., what they call the Occident, meaning to the west. All right, for those who are in the underworld. All right, why is this important? Let's see. Where was I gonna go with this? So, solar bark, sun god Ra in ancient Egyptian mythology. Okay, why is this important? Let's go here. Tradition of the Berber religion in closing. Traditional Berber religion in the sum of ancient natives set out a belief in deities adhered to by the Berbers. Originally, the Berbers seem to have believed in worshiping of the sun and moon and animism and in the afterlife by interactions with the Phoenicians, Greeks, Romans, and influenced religious practices and melted traditional faith with new one. We're talking about afterlife. We're talking about life other than this life. Okay, very very important, and all that denotes to the sun. Okay, we know that if it wasn't for the sun, we would not receive the information that we're receiving by way of transduction. All right, because everything is based upon electromagnetic signals. Okay, the transfer of signals, that's called transduction. Okay, transduction. Coat of Amun Ra. All right, the code of Amun Ra. Since antiquity, the ancient Libyan ancestors of the Berbers, all right, worshiped the god Amun, who was also worshipped by the ancient Egyptians, according to Herodotus and Pausanias. The cult had Berber origin and later spread through Egypt and Greece, probably via the Greek colony of Cyrene and the Suez Oasis, located western in Egypt. There remained a solitary oracle of Amun near Libya, the Libyan desert. All right. Amun's wife Amenet is also believed to have originated from Libya. She is the Egyptian mythology goddess of the underworld, Amenet. We just talked about him, meaning the land of the setting sun or the west, where the dead wait for Ra to arrive. Guess what? Ra has arrived in the west, called Occident. Okay? Occident. All right? The Western world, not the Eastern world, the Western world. The Occident is the term for the West, traditionally comprising anything that belongs to the Western world. And we know that the Spanish Empire is an empire known as the empire where the sun never sets. okay, where the sun never sets. We also see the serpent, the snake, or the what we call the flying serpent or the flying snake or the caduceus or what we call the Uranus and right here. Caduceus, Uranus, right here in the medical symbol. The caduceus, herald, wand, or staff is a staff carried by Hermes in Greek mythology and consequently by Hermes Trismegistus in Greco-Egyptian mythology. The same staff was borne by other heralds like Iris, the messenger of Hera. The short staff is entwined by two serpents, sometimes surmounted by wings. The Roman iconography is depicted being carried in the left hand by Mercury, messengers of the god. Messengers of the god. You better pay close attention to this message, y'all. You better pay close attention to this message. Okay? Let's see. Is this it? So, in closing, understand, my brothers and sisters, that something is going on inside of you that you have no idea. There's a chemical change that's going on inside you based upon the chemical substance that you are made up with, and the chemical reaction is taking place based upon engrams, memory, okay, of who you are, okay? Before you came and manifested in the world of evolution, okay? Through what we call the process of embryogenesis, all right? But the information that you originated from was embedded in the genetic material that allowed you to manifest it in this plane, okay? But you are what your forefathers were without down the contradiction, okay? All right? Time never was when man was not. If the time became when man become no more, if time become when man began, the time will come when he will be no more. And we know that man who stepped to the time and space is the man that was confined to the space, okay? I.e., that matrix, that prison. So here is the key to break the prison, and that way is by memory, okay? Remember who you are, my brothers and sisters. And with that, I'll say peace.